Hello and welcome to this very special late edition of the Daily News Update with Australian Indian Radio and brought to you by Chentex Multimedia. Well, right now it is wonderful to have your company, and today we have the Daily India Report plus the news update and upcoming events that's coming up. So there's lots to get through. Let's get this show on the road. Well, Christmas is coming. So what else is coming with Christmas? As we know, this year, or the last 2 years, has been quite different. Never in our history have we been so grounded as we have been in this last 2 years. Well, two things that's happened. One is that, people have not been going overseas or taking long holidays. So as a result of that, everyone's got a little bit of more disposable cash than they would already have. So having that in place and in mind, what's happening is now that people are going to be spending a little bit more around Christmas. Let's take that report. And welcome to the show, Devika.
Christmas spending is in full swing.
Today, just the last couple of bits and pieces for Christmas.
There's definitely been less spending because it's not so spontaneous.
And thanks to COVID lockdowns, Australians have added another $240 billion to their bank accounts.
And that money is sitting there, able to be spent over the Christmas time and through 2022.
CBA analysis shows that last month, as people came out of lockdown, they began to spend big. The largest increases were in travel and transport, but both categories are growing off a very low base, while retail spending intentions rose by almost 10%, taking CBA's spending index up 2% to a pandemic high 110 points.
That's actually the highest reading since December 2019, just before COVID arrived. So we've recovered all that lost ground from the COVID period, which is great news.
As Christmas draws near, shoppers have been out in force across the country.
Son will get some aftershave, daughter will probably get some wine, wife will get some champagne.
I've just bought 2 books at Dillon's.
Many retailers have just had a windfall, with NAB estimating $8 billion was spent in the 4 days between Black Friday and Cyber Monday. And after nearly 2 years of COVID, they're hoping the spending spree continues.
And the spending spree will continue, as we can see. The only sign is if you just try and book a restaurant or anything, even some of the resorts, and you'll find out that how hard it is, because all of a sudden they're all booked out and very few spots are available. So that is the way it is. People are not going overseas, not going away, but they're spending money locally. So that is stirring the local economy, which is quite good. If you try and book any place, you will find out. Well, tomorrow night is Queensland Multicultural Council's dinner night, and amazing results. So we've got a sold-out function happening tomorrow, thanks to everyone who has showed their support. And today has been a very, very busy day. The last multicultural roundtable meeting of Lord Mayor. Then we had the Christmas do at the Gamma College, and it was wonderful to see the catering and the cafe, the way it is done. I've never seen so many of the catering students in one place, but this premises, which I can actually see from this studio here, is wonderful to see what they have been able to do. We might bring to you some glimpses of that tomorrow. So, but it was wonderful that they invited Australian Indian Radio and Brisbane Indian Times to be there, have a look at what is happening. And tomorrow is Queensland Multicultural Council's annual dinner, a completely sold out dinner. Once again, thank you. Well done, QMC team, and especially ST for the amount of weight that you have put into that. Well, right now, we are a very, very busy day, as I mentioned, and that's why we are broadcasting at this time. Well, TGA has approved Moderna booster. So here's that report from...
I'm also delighted to be able to announce today that the TGA, the Therapeutic Goods Administration, has just given its green light for the Moderna booster for people 18 plus in Australia, so in addition to the Pfizer booster. subject to a final approval, a second green light by ATAGI, or the Technical Advisory Group on Immunisation, Australians will have 2 options for boosters very, very shortly. And I think this is another important step. Every day we're making new strides and new progress with the vaccine program. We've now reached 93% of Australians with a first dose, 88.5% of Australians with a second dose, 580,000 Australians with a booster, and over 99% of those 60 and over who've had a first dose. But the booster program is fundamentally important. When we see the variants such as Omicron, and inevitably there will be more variants and more variations, we know that the boosters will help keep us safe. Another addition to the booster program today, and we will await ATAGI over the coming days, but they are meeting over the course of the coming days. But we're able to protect Australians with a 93% take-up and an almost 40 million figure, which we will pass in the coming days.
And there is wonderful news that we will be passing that target. And, my plea to everyone is please go and get your doses done. Well, the thing is, when we're talking about the booster, that, we will not only have to have the 2 first and second dose, but we will need to go on the boosters. And here it is. Greg Hunt is telling us now about those boosters, and you would have received some paraphernalia in the mail as well. So there's been a mass mail out, talking about those boosters and promoting the boosters, and of course that's being pushed now, and it will be something that we'll have to live with. The variants, they will keep coming, as was mentioned in that last report. Well, right now let's go to our PM, and he's going to mention about why there will be officials going to the Beijing Games. Well, we know, as was discussed today at the Lord Mayor's Multicultural Roundtable, that Deputy Mayor Councillor Krista Adams will be going, and of course from the state government will be the Deputy Premier who will be going. And Lord Mayor jokingly said that he said to the Premier that, well, if they're going there, let us go to Paris. Well, here's that report from Prime Minister.
For some time, people have been very aware that we have been raising a number of issues that have not been received well in China, and there's been a disagreement between us on those matters. We have always been open to meet with the Chinese government to talk about their concerns, whether it's their concerns with our foreign interference legislation or other foreign investment rules, where Australia takes a very strong stand, standing up for Australia's interests. They've been very critical of Australia in our efforts to ensure that we have a strong national defence force, particularly in relation, most recently, to our decision to acquire nuclear-powered submarines. But of course the human rights abuses in Xinjiang and the many other issues that Australia has consistently raised. We have been very pleased and very happy to talk to the Chinese government about these issues, and there's been no obstacle to that occurring on our side, but the Chinese government has consistently not accepted those opportunities for us to meet about these issues. So it is not surprising, therefore, that Australian government officials would therefore not be going to China for those games. Australian athletes will, though. Australia's a great sporting nation, and I very much separate the issues of sport and these other political issues. They're issues between 2 governments, and I would like to see those issues resolved, but they are not resolved.
Well, as you mentioned, to keep the politics and sports separate, and that would be a wonderful thing. But as I mentioned, that from Brisbane, Councillor Krista Adams, the Lord Mayor, will go, and of course the Deputy Premier will be going as well, as was discussed in the meeting today. Well, right now let's go to Victoria, where the Ombudsman looks at Victorian government's way of handling these lockdowns.
Victoria's border permit system was meant to help people like Alex Atkins get home. Instead, it did the opposite. He was stuck in New South Wales for 3 months after going to a funeral, despite having a niece with cancer in Melbourne he needed to care for.
And the total absence of any support for our physical well-being, our mental well-being, or even our financial well-being.
Some outcomes were downright unjust.
My apologies for the audio on that track is not very good, so we will go to South Australia instead.
Returning to country after decades of disrespect, finally laid to rest on Kaurna land.
We're going to bring every one of them home here, and we're going to bury them in a cultural, respectful way, which is overdue.
The remains of more than 100 ancestors reburied at a memorial park north of Adelaide. Amongst them, one of the first Kaurna men to be taken from country in the 1800s. Since white settlement, Aboriginal remains have been shipped to museums and universities around the world. The South Australian Museum alone has the remains of 4,500 ancestors stored away in boxes.
They just didn't make their ways to the museums. They were dug up and taken there.
Now, a long-awaited apology.
I'm sorry that our forebears did not treat your ancestors as brothers and sisters.
Many of the remains were removed from sacred burial sites uncovered during development.
That's a particularly painful part of our history as a museum, and all the more reason why we need to be incredibly honest about it on days like this.
A day of healing, full of emotion. Kaurna elders say this ceremony is only the beginning.
When you're looking at the ancestors that's locked away in rooms and shut in boxes, it's not just old people. There's a lot of children.
A burial site in the shape of the Kaurna Shield to provide protection for the ancestors in their final resting place. Sarah Mullins, ABC News, Adelaide.
Well, you'd think that justice is finally being done, better late than never, but it is good to see that, finally the story has been forthcoming, and with the forthcoming of the story, the remains have been retained, so which is very, very good to see. Well, right now, it's time to go to India with our daily India report. Remember, it is a PIO TV presentation exclusively for Australian Indian Radio. With that, let's welcome Ankita.
Welcome to the Daily India Report that brings you glimpses of the changing India and the growing engagement of the Indian diaspora with India. In our first story, India-Russia seal the S-400 deal, renew the pact for military cooperation till 2031. At the annual summit with Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Delhi, Russian President Vladimir Putin calls India a great power, and Modi says friendship with Russia is constant despite challenges. During the summit in Delhi between Russian President Vladimir Putin and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and a simultaneous dialogue of 2+2 between the respective defence and foreign ministers, India and Russia conclude major defence deals. This includes the strategic S-400 air defence system and procurement of AK-203 assault rifles. The two countries have also agreed to expand military cooperation during the 20th meeting of the India-Russia Intergovernmental Commission on Military and Military Technical Cooperation held in New Delhi. On the S-400 deal, Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu said the S-400 deal isn't only symbolic, rather it is a very significant practical meaning for an Indian defense capability. This will be done through the Indo-Russia Rifles Private Limited. The two sides formalized the agreement on the program for military technical cooperation from 2021 to 2031. The protocol is on for amending the agreement between India and Russia on cooperation in the field of Kalashnikov arms manufacturing dated February 18, 2019. Defense Minister Rajnath Singh led the Indian delegation, while the Russian side was headed by Shoigu. The two also signed the protocol of the 20th IRIGC-M and MTC. While the first three documents were signed by the officials of two sides, the protocol was signed by the defense ministers of India and Russia. IRIGC-M and MTC is one of the two intergovernmental commissions, with the other one on trade, economic, scientific, technological and cultural cooperation. Rajnath termed Russia as India's long-standing special and privileged strategic partner and appreciated Moscow's strong support for Delhi. He called defense cooperation one of the most important pillars of the bilateral partnership. The IRIGC-M and MTC meeting was followed by the maiden 2+2 dialogue between India and Russia. During the 2+2 dialogue, India and Russia focused on ways to boost bilateral cooperation in areas ranging from defense to energy, and a coordinated approach to regional issues such as the situation in Afghanistan, as Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Russian President Vladimir Putin met in New Delhi. In his televised opening remarks at the summit, Putin described India as a great power and a time-tested friend and said Russia works with India in the military technical field in a way that we do not work with any of our partners. Modi noted in his opening remarks that this was only Putin's second foreign visit since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic and reflects his personal commitment to bilateral relations. The Indian Prime Minister said the India-Russia friendship has remained constant despite many fundamental changes on the world stage, and the two countries have cooperated closely while paying attention to each other's sensitivities. India observes Maitri Divas to mark 50 years of friendship with Bangladesh. Indian President will visit Bangladesh for celebrations in Dhaka. December 6, 2021 marked 50 years since India became the first country to recognize the birth of a brand new nation on its eastern border. India decided to formally acknowledge the new country even before its liberation. So this day is commemorated by the two nations each year as Maitri Divas or Friendship Day, adding one more layer to the memory of Bangladesh's 1971 War of Independence from Pakistan and India's role in its liberation. The decision to mark Maitri Divas was taken by the two Prime Ministers during Narendra Modi's visit to Dhaka in March 2021. Foreign Office spokesman Arindam Bagchi said the holding of Maitri Divas is a reflection of the deep and abiding friendship between the peoples of India and Bangladesh that have been forged in blood and shared sacrifices. The occasion will be observed in 18 countries across the world. Meetings, exhibitions and seminars will be organized by either the Indian or Bangladesh missions in the UK, Australia, Singapore, Belgium, Canada, Egypt, Indonesia, Russia, Qatar, France, Japan, Malaysia, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, Switzerland, Thailand, UAE and the US. Sheikh Hasina and her ruling Awami League remember with gratitude India and former Prime Minister Indira Gandhi's pivotal role in the struggle for independence. Unlike the opposition Bangladesh Nationalist Party, Sheikh Hasina has made friendship with India and the center stage of her foreign policy in the region. This policy has paid rich dividends to both countries, though she was constantly derided by the opposition Bangladesh Nationalist Party and its ally, the Jamaat, for taking dictation from New Delhi. India and Bangladesh's tie have flourished with better connectivity between the two neighbors. Yet there are headwinds, but so far, the political leadership in both the capitals has exhibited remarkable maturity. The Indian government has announced the President Ram Nath Kovind will visit Bangladesh on December 16th for the Victory Day celebrations of the 1971 Bangladesh Liberation War. Speaking at a virtual event, Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina said that the relationship between the two countries has remained strong despite restrictions imposed due to COVID-19. She said the core of ties between the two nations needs to now concentrate on people-to-people contact, trade, business and connectivity. The year 2021 marks the 50th anniversary of the liberation of Bangladesh and the birth centenary of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Two more Omicron cases detected in Maharashtra state capital Mumbai. India's tally rises to 23. Two more cases of the Omicron variant of coronavirus were detected in Mumbai, taking Maharashtra's total case tally to 10. Both patients who had taken Pfizer's COVID vaccine had no symptoms and are presently admitted at the Seven Hills Hospital in Mumbai. The 37-year-old man who tested positive for the new variant had returned from South Africa's Johannesburg on November 25th. His 36-year-old friend who had returned from the US on November 25th has also tested positive for the Omicron variant. 5 high-risk and 315 low-risk contacts of both the patients have been traced and further tracing is currently underway. With these two cases, India's total tally of the new coronavirus variant jumped to 23. The first two cases of Omicron were reported in Karnataka, followed by one in Gujarat's Jamnagar and another in Maharashtra. On December 5th, 7 more cases were reported in Maharashtra's Pune district, while Rajasthan's Jaipur confirmed 9 cases of the Omicron variant. In Delhi, a man was found to be infected with the new variant and has been admitted to the Lok Nayak Jayaprakash Narayan Hospital. In view of the new coronavirus variant designated as variant of concern by the World Health Organization, several states have stepped up surveillance and containment measures as well as ramping up efforts to get the eligible population vaccinated. More data are needed to know if Omicron infections and especially reinfections and breakthrough infections in people who are fully vaccinated cause more severe illness or death than infection with other variants. Current vaccines are expected to protect against severe illness, hospitalizations and deaths due to infection with the Omicron variant. However, breakthrough infections in people who are fully vaccinated are likely to occur. With other variants like Delta, vaccines have remained effective at preventing severe illness, hospitalizations and death. The recent emergence of Omicron further emphasizes the importance of vaccination and boosters. Scientists are working to determine how well existing treatments for COVID-19 work. Based on the changed genetic makeup of Omicron, some treatments are likely to remain effective while others may be less effective. Cricket South Africa announces revised itinerary of India's tour of South Africa. Cricket South Africa has announced the revised schedule of India's tour of South Africa, which comprises 3 tests and 3 ODIs. The tour will kick off with the Boxing Day test from December 26th, now taking place at Centurion Super Sport Park. The second test will be played in the new year, with Johannesburg hosting the match from January 3rd to 7th, followed by the final game at the New Land Stadium in Cape Town. The ODIs will take place after a 4-day gap, with the first and second matches of the series to be hosted at Paarl on January 19th and 21 respectively, followed by the final at Cape Town on January 23rd. The Test series will form part of the new cycle of the ICC World Test Championship, while the ODI series will form part of the ICC Men's World Cup Super League, the qualification tournament for the 2023 ICC Men's World Cup. The change in itinerary resulted from the emergence of the new Omicron variant of COVID-19, which was first detected in South Africa. The new mutant had caused a shadow over the fate of the entire tour, even as India A's tour of South Africa went on as per schedule. However, BCCI Secretary Jay Shah lifted the lid of suspense, informing that the tour would go ahead minus the T20s. A few hours later, during the BCCI AGM meet, it was decided that the tour will now kick off on December 26th, 9 days after the initial date for the first test. As per the original schedule, the 3 test matches were supposed to be played at Johannesburg starting December 17th, followed by the Boxing Day test at Centurion and the final one at Cape Town from January 3rd to 7th. The original dates were January 11th, 14th and 16th, with Cape Town to host the second and third games. The 4 T20s, which have now been rescheduled for a later date, were to take place on January 19th, 21, 23rd and 26th. Producers of the film Atrangi Re are leaving no stone unturned to pacify the audience to come to the theatres to see the movie. A musical night is staged to promote the film, attended by Akshay Kumar and Sara Ali Khan, along with music composer A.R. Rahman. Bollywood's much-awaited release of romantic movie Atrangi Re is around the corner, and the makers of the film are leaving no stone unturned to promote the film. On December 6th, the music launch of the movie was held in Mumbai with great zeal and enthusiasm. The lead cast of the film, including Akshay Kumar and Sara Ali Khan, glammed up the musical night. Oscar-winning music composer A.R. Rahman, who also scored the music of this film, was present at the launch. Superstar Akshay Kumar also took to social media to pay hearty tribute to A.R. Rahman with a special Instagram post. In the photo, both Akshay and Rahman can be seen sharing an infectious smile as they look dashing in black ensembles. While sharing the photo, Akshay wrote, "With the music maestro at A.R. Rahman, the mastermind behind the soulful music of #Atrangi Re at the album launch today." The trailer of the film aptly gives us a hint that the movie is accentuated with gripping twists and turns. Helmed by Anand L. Rai, this musical romantic movie also features South heartthrob Dhanush in a pivotal role. Although the plot of the movie is yet unclear, the trailer undoubtedly proves that the movie is going to be filled with masti and masala. It showcases how Dhanush and Sara are forced to marry each other, though as time passes, their quirky chemistry develops between the two. As they begin to fall in love, Akshay Kumar enters into the picture, thereby a confusing love triangle is formed between the trio.
Like Ravan, he wants me to go behind Hiran.
That's all for this bulletin of Daily India Report. Thank you for watching.
And thank you very much, Ankita, for that report. Ladies and gentlemen, so that's about all we have for you today. Don't forget that tomorrow we'll have the travel updates with Tanvi of Oz India Travels. And today we had the real estate update with Usa Chandra of GlobeNet Realty. So until the next show, it's goodbye from us.